You're listening to the Life with Old Dogs podcast, and I'm your host, Dawn Mimnaugh, primary caretaker of all of our wonderful senior German Shepherds right here at Woody's Place Senior German Shepherd Sanctuary. Okay, so I'm just letting you know now that I have Mr. Sheriff right next to me as I'm recording, and he's busy squeaking a ball, so you may hear him from time to time. So this is the final episode of Season 5, and then I'm taking a break. I'll be back after the new year. So we covered caring for yourself while caring for your German Shepherd. This season, we talked about the importance of diet, mental well-being, and taking care of yourself physically, basically keeping you strong, fit, and well while you are caring for your older German Shepherd. And then in the second part of this season, we talked about the same things for your older German Shepherd, the importance of diet, the mental well-being, grooming, and the physical aspect. So you can check that out. Season 5, it's available, Life with Old Dogs podcast. It's available on all major podcast platforms and on our website at www.wpsgss.org /podcast. All right. So back in, I want to say it was November 1st, we threw out something on social media and via email saying, ask me anything about sanctuary life. And I said that we would take some of the questions from that and I would answer them during this podcast episode. So here we go. Now, I am not getting to all of them. I was pleasantly surprised that we received quite a few, but I'm not getting to all of them right now. Some of them we're actually going to be touching base on in other podcasts down the road, but I picked out about 10 that I'm going to be answering today. So the first one comes from Sally A., and she says, my 13-year-old German Shepherd is showing signs of degenerative myelopathy with her back right leg, and my vet gave me carprofen, 75 milligrams, to give her for pain. I'm not sure what to look for as far as her being in pain, as she doesn't act like it. All right. So there shouldn't be any pain with degenerative myelopathy because it's a neurological disorder. Basically, it's autoimmune. It's an autoimmune disease, and the immune system eats away at the myelin sheath of the nerves that run along the spine. So that is not painful. The pain comes in from perhaps other issues coinciding with the degenerative myelopathy. The biggest one that comes to my mind is arthritis. So if you have a 13-year-old German Shepherd, I'd be willing to bet the ranch that she has arthritis as well. And that's probably why your vet gave her carprofen. She could have issues with her hips, like hip dysplasia. She could have some herniated discs. Maybe that's causing her pain. Elbow dysplasia, that's another thing that may be causing pain. But degenerative myelopathy in and of itself does not cause pain. But as I said, there are other degenerative diseases that certainly do cause pain and usually run alongside of degenerative myelopathy. Now, she may still be feeling some in her back end. Perhaps she's scraping her knuckles as she walks. That could certainly cause pain. But your question was, you're not sure what to look for. So things to look for, and this goes with anything, not just degenerative myelopathy. Our older German Shepherds show pain in ways that we might not think about. One of the ways is they may be sleeping more. Dogs who are in pain tend to sleep more. They may have a change in diet, like maybe they're not eating as much, or maybe they're drinking more water. They may be drinking more water because they're panting a lot more. Older German Shepherds, when they're in pain or stressed or anxious, they pant a lot more. So that's something to look for. They may become more vocal, maybe whining. You might not even notice it, but she may be laying on her pillow whining some or crying, just being more vocal. She may be stiff when she's walking. So you may notice that. Maybe she liked to play and she's not wanting to play quite as much anymore. Or perhaps, if it's her elbows, maybe let's say it's elbow dysplasia in her right elbow. You may notice she's not putting all of her weight down on her right front leg and she's stiff. So you want to look for things like that, changes in the way that she's carrying herself, maybe causing her pain. And the big one for me is behavior. So for those of you who aren't familiar with arthritis, you really can't relate. But for those of us like myself who does have arthritis, I also have spinal stenosis in my lower back. It hurts, especially during the long winters here in northeastern PA. And I get cranky. Surprise, big surprise. You can get cranky. So your older German Shepherd's personality might change somewhat. Her behavior may be different, where she may have been sweet and easygoing before. She may grumble a little bit if you touch a spot that's not feeling so well, or she may even snap. And you may think, oh my God, she's never done that before. Well, she can't tell you what's happening and how she's feeling. So that's a way of her expressing herself. So definitely a change in behavior. And these are the things that you want to be looking out for. And, if you're in doubt about any of those, the degenerative myelopathy and why your vet gave her carprofen, you can always ask for x-rays, because that may show other things going on, such as arthritis. So just a little suggestion there. So that's what you want to look out for. All right. Being in pain, more vocal, change in diet or drinking, sleeping a lot, panting a lot, stiffness, not wanting to play, not wanting to put weight on certain parts of the body that's causing them pain, and definitely change in behavior and personality. All right. So thank you for your question, Sally. Okay. Nicole S. asked, how do you keep older dogs' teeth clean? Dexter's are getting awfully brown, even though I give him a dentist stick every day. Okay. So I'm in the show notes of this podcast, I'm going to include some information here to the questions. And for this particular one, Nicole, we did a whole blog and podcast on this. So I will be sure to include those links for you to read up and listen in regard to this question. But brush his teeth. Yeah, there's doggy toothbrushes. You can either get an actual toothbrush. You can get them on Chewy and Amazon. Just look up dog toothbrush. They're a certain angle. They're not like human toothbrushes. They're a certain angle designed specifically for dogs' teeth. So you want to brush his teeth. They have dog toothpaste. You don't want to use human toothpaste. You want to use dog toothpaste, okay, specifically for dogs. And you want to brush his teeth. So I have toothbrushes here for the residents. I admit I do not brush their teeth every day, but I do try to brush them a few times a week. And basically, I just put a little toothpaste on the toothbrush and I wet the toothbrush with warm water to kind of soften up the bristles some. And then I brush their teeth. Now, some of them like it, others don't. So some of them, it's a little bit of a challenge. But there are some, like Savi, my gosh, she loves having her teeth brushed. She kind of like chomps on the toothbrush as I'm brushing her teeth. But that's good. That's good. There's also like a silicone toothbrush for dogs that you can actually put on your finger. And that's good for puppies, but I certainly don't feel comfortable myself putting a silicone toothbrush on my finger and then sticking it in a German Shepherd's mouth. Kibble or crunchy treats. So if you do use kibble, kibble will definitely scrape tartar and junk off their teeth. Crunchy treats like crunchy cookies, apple slices, carrots, things of that nature will definitely scrape tartar and junk off their teeth. So I would suggest introducing something along those lines for treats. Wet food, it definitely doesn't help, keep their teeth clean, but that's okay. It has other benefits. And if they're really brown and, just not looking so good, I would strongly suggest a visit to the vet for a good cleaning, and perhaps even a scaling of the teeth needs to be done. That is where they take an instrument and they literally scrape the plaque off the teeth, and their teeth look great. Their teeth look great afterwards, and they must feel so much better. And the bad breath smell starts to dissipate. Dentist sticks. All right, I just need to little side note here about the dentist sticks. I'm not for them. I'm not against them, but I will say be careful with them because I've never really talked about this on anything Woody's Place, but those close to me do know the situation. And some of you may noticed in my videos that I am missing the top of my left thumb. And back in 2012, one of the Woody's Place residents was given a dentist stick and he choked on it. He full on choked on it, like was choking to death on it. Because he bit too big of a piece and then swallowed it. So I had just become certified in canine Heimlich maneuver and CPR, and I will swear on a stack of Bibles, what I was shown in that class was not what was happening in real life. He was choking to death. He was bucking like a bronco, smacking his head against the wall, just acting wild because he was freaking out basically. And I kept trying to get it out, but I couldn't. So I ended up, he was like trying to heave it out, like kind of regurgitate it out, but wasn't successful. So I actually stuck my hand in his mouth and I grabbed it. Like when he tried to have a reflux again, where it was coming up a little bit, I grabbed it, which made him have a reflex where he bit down. He did not bite me maliciously. I want to stress that right now. This was not an attack. It was a reflux. It was like a gag reflux. And as he did that, he bit down and got the top of my thumb. So be very, very careful with dentist sticks or greenies or anything like that. That dog, Conan, was not the first dog to choke from them. There is a history of dogs choking on those. So be very careful. And God forbid, if something like that happens, I've since learned you let the dog pass out and then help them because, you don't want to lose a finger. All right. So brush teeth. Okay. Kibble, crunchy treats, apples, carrots. They all help keep the teeth clean. And if it's too far gone, go to the vet. Schedule an appointment. Go to the vet for cleaning and perhaps a scaling of the teeth. All right, Nicole, thanks for your question. All right, next question comes from Melanie P. All right, let's see. I'm experiencing incontinence in my 11-year-old female German Shepherd. My boyfriend puts her in a crate so our rugs don't get ruined, but she has accidents in there too. She has never done this before. Is it because she's older? Okay. This could be incontinence in older German Shepherds could could happen for numerous reasons. I don't know if she's experienced any sort of, spinal injury recently, or if she has any sort of degeneration in her spinal cord, if she's experiencing degenerative myelopathy. They could all have some sort of impact on whether she's making it out to the bathroom in time. Maybe she's not feeling that she needs to go to the bathroom before it's too late. Cushing's disease is another reason why an older dog would be experiencing incontinent issues. Diabetes, that's another one. Urinary tract infection, that's another. Some sort of hormone imbalance could be at play. Is she on any medications for anything, like steroids, for instance? If she's on steroids or recently put on steroids, we have certainly had that happen here, where the resident that is on steroids may have accidents where they're urinating inside the house and they've never done that before. A weakened bladder, as our dogs get older, their bladder becomes weak. It's just like people, really. It becomes harder for them to hold it for extended periods of time. Kidney disease is a really, what comes to my mind is kidney disease or urinary tract infection. I would definitely take her to the vet and have this investigated further, especially if she's never done this before. Not really sure what her cognitive ability is at this point. Older dogs with canine cognitive disability, they have issues with being incontinent. So it could be something along those lines. But at the end of the day, regardless of what the cause is, if this is something that has not happened before, but it's happening now, please take her to the vet and have this checked out. What I would do is I would take a urine sample, like whatever day I make the appointment. Let's just say it's this Thursday morning, when I take my dog out to go to the bathroom, I'm going to collect a urine sample to take it to the vet with me to have that checked out. And I'm also going to have blood work done to find out, to get to the root of the matter. Putting the dog in the crate. Now, I get it. I get you don't want your carpets ruined. If being put in a crate is something that hasn't happened before for her, but it is now because she's having these accidents, I don't really think that's, a great thing to do. I get you don't want your carpets ruined, but I also don't see, I don't know if she's looking at it as I'm being punished because I'm having accidents. I wouldn't do that. To me, that would not be something I would do. I would put mats down on the floor, wee pads. I may get like a doggy play yard fence or gate, whatever you want to call it, and I'd maybe put her in an area of my living room or something like that to keep her so she can still sort of be free and not confined to a crate, not feeling like she's, maybe being punished, unless her crate is something that she likes. If it's something that she likes, then that's a different story. But you say that your boyfriend puts her in the crate so our rugs don't get ruined. So to me, it sounds sort of like a punishment as opposed to something that she would enjoy doing, going in her crate, that is. So I wouldn't do that. I would put her in an area with me, but maybe make it a confined area, and put pee pads down on the floor. If this is something that doesn't, get resolved with an antibiotic or something along those lines. There is a medication for females. It's Proen. And that's basically for a hormone imbalance. A lot of the times when females get spayed later on in life, they may end up being urinary incontinent. So this could be one of those situations. So bottom line, get her to the vet, get her checked out, take a urine sample and get some blood work done and find out what's going on and get it straightened out. All right. Thanks for your question, Melanie P. Next question from Frank G. Does your dog really benefit from cooked foods? Yeah, 100%. 100%. Now, you need to make sure it's the right foods, and you need to make sure that it's nutritionally balanced. Okay, so cooked foods for sure. Like you're not, I mean, there's people out there who swear by raw. I'm not one of those people. I like to do gently cooked, and you want to make sure it's nutritionally balanced. And there are ways of doing that. It's not as hard as most people think it is, but it does require education before doing it. Or if you're really just not sure, you can feed your dog his kibble and give him home-cooked food on top of it. That's called a food topper. You just then want to cut back on the kibble because, let's just say you give your German Shepherd a cup of kibble in the morning, cup and a half of kibble in the morning, and a cup and a half of kibble in the evening. So if you're doing cooked food, like a cooked food topper to put on top of the kibble, cut it back like half a cup and only give them a cup of kibble and then some cooked food on top, so that they're not getting fat because you're giving them extra food. And again, you want to make sure it's good food. Like you don't want to be feeding them greasy garbage. You want to feed them lean meats like turkey or chicken or lean ground beef. Even pork is good as long as it's not like greasy and fried. You don't want like bacon. You don't want to do that, or spam or bologna, anything like that. You don't want to do anything like that. So yes, it is good for them. They definitely do benefit from it. I am a huge proponent of home cooked whole foods for the residents here of Woody's Place. I've talked about this before. Eventually, I would love to get away from kibble altogether. We do use Fromm, F-R-O-M-M kibble. We if we're going to do kibble, we do like that. Atticus doesn't get Fromm. He gets canine caviar because of his food allergies, and he does best on that. But absolutely love homemade whole foods for the residents. So yes, it's beneficial. It's virtually impossible for them to have all of their nutritional needs met from one bag of dog food day after day, month after month, year after year, their entire life. I often say it's like us eating cereal. We can go out and we can buy the best box of cereal there is, but we are not having it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner from the time we're born till the time we die, thinking that it's going to benefit us. It's not. And it's the same for our dogs. So yes, cooked food definitely benefits our dogs. Okay, Carol H. How do you keep your house so clean? Oh, Carol. Thank you for the compliment. First of all, I'm assuming you're seeing my home from videos, and thank you. I do appreciate the compliment, but my house is not clean. I try to keep it as clean as possible, but it's not clean. In fact, I have from the skylight in my master bathroom, there's probably about a 3 or 3.5 foot cobweb that's been dangling down from the skylight for months now, and I just haven't had time to get up there and clean it and knock it down. So thank you. I appreciate that. My house is definitely not spotless. It's just, let's say, picked up. I pick things up and try to keep it as organized as possible, but getting right down to it, yeah. Baseboards are filthy, windows need to be cleaned, all that good stuff. So as far as the basic cleaning goes, I do have a routine every morning that I go through. It takes me about 2 hours every morning to do my chores. Now that's taking care of all the animals here. And aside from the Woody's Place residents, we have the rescue cats, and we have some farm animals outside too that need to be taken care of. But as far as, my cleaning chores every day, I start my day off with a clean kitchen. And I have two Roombas that I'll send around the sanctuary. I do have another, it's sort of like I don't know what it is, some sort of iRobot stick vacuum or something like that. And it's more or less like an elaborate dust buster. So while the Roombas are doing their thing, I'm also using that stick vacuum and doing the floors as well. But yeah, anything else? Oh gosh, I mean, I try my best, but yeah, it's hard. It's hard to do any sort of deep cleaning with so many animals here. But basically, I do sections at a time when I do, because it's a big place. And yeah, I'll do sections at a time. And it is my dream at some point to have a clean house from top to bottom, but I'm just not there. Just not there. But thank you so much for the compliment. I really do appreciate it. And like I said, basically, I try to do a little bit every morning. All right. Justina W. How do you get the residents to all get along? I think I did a podcast about this a while ago, or maybe it was a blog post. I'll find that information and I will put it in the show notes, but it is not easy. It's not easy, and I don't want anyone thinking for one red hot second that the residents all get along all the time. Not the case at all. In fact, Savvy and Sheriff just got into it a little bit outside today because they were both trying to get the same ball at the same time and pretty much collided. And, then it was just a bunch of grumbling and slobber and, all that stuff. So they certainly don't always all get along. So what we do when a new resident gets here, we go through, it's quite a process. And it goes on for a while. There is the rule, 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months. And it is true. It is true. When a new resident gets here, we're not seeing their true personality. They're stressed. They're freaking out. They don't know what's going on. Some of them want to cower. Some of them want to hide. Some of them want to fight with the other residents. So we keep them separate. We keep them separate in what we call quarantine. And basically, it's in my Florida room. And they have the entire Florida room to themselves, which is a great room. It's lovely. And they don't want for a thing back there. And there's a big gate across the Florida room and the foyer back there. So the newbies can see everybody else, and everybody else can see the newbie, but no one actually gets to touch the newbie until we introduce them one at a time with the current residents. So it's quite a process. Feeding is usually done separately. Like Sheriff right now is not eating with the others because he's not food aggressive, but he gobbles his food down real quick, and I'm pretty sure he'd run over to somebody else's food and try to gobble that down too, which, as you can imagine, would cause a problem. So newbies get fed separate. Toys. toys can sometimes be a problem, even with older German Shepherds. It certainly was with Prince and Nona. Boy, they just constantly fought over the same toy. Now, we have toys all over here. There's no shortage of toys. But again, it's just like kids. If one kid is playing with something, sure enough, there's another kid that wants to play with that exact same toy, even though there may be 5 others just like it, but a different color. It's the same here. So sometimes we end up having to put toys away until we can sort things out. But basically it all comes down to personality. And one of the sticking points for me when I'm working with an owner surrender or a dog coming from a shelter or another sanctuary or rescue is I have to know that dog does get along with other dogs. If it is not a dog-friendly dog, we can't take it. I don't even try. It's just not possible with our setup right here because it is a cage-free facility. So have to know they're dog-friendly dogs, and then we can pretty much work with it from there. But again, I think that's in a whole other podcast, and I'll be sure to include the link to that in the show notes, and you can listen to that whole podcast if you like. All right. Thank you for your question, Justina. What a pretty name. All right, moving on. Pam S. Well, she wants to know why only older German Shepherds when so many older dogs need saving. So that's a good question. That is a good question. And yeah, we have actually taken other dogs besides older German Shepherds, but this is Woody's Place Senior German Shepherd Sanctuary. I mean, it is right in the name. And the reason it's only older German Shepherds is because this is my life. I mean, our catchphrase, it's a registered trademark, life with old dogs. That is no joke. This is my life. And when it comes right down to it, German Shepherds are what I know. I mean, I know dogs, but German Shepherds are what I know. I've known them since I was a little kid. And, you know, you focus on one thing and you do it well. And that's what I'm doing. And Woody was an older German Shepherd, and this sanctuary is in honor of his memory. All right. And I did a whole podcast too on the story of Woody. And I can even put that link in the show notes, but just briefly, back in 2007, he was turned into the Burlington County SPCA in New Jersey, and his person was being deployed, and he had nobody to give Woody to, and he was very broken up and very upset about leaving Woody at the shelter. Woody was 9, just about 10 years old. I mean, he was, just about 10 years old, and he was already showing signs of degenerative myelopathy then. And I think the gentleman knew that Woody would probably end up, passing there at the shelter because of his age and not being in such good shape physically. Just so happened that I found out about him, about Woody, and basically had a knee-jerk reaction, but it was the best knee-jerk reaction I ever had, and decided I was going to give this older German Shepherd at home. But at the end of the day, the rescue that I was with, there were people within the rescue flat out saying they wouldn't take him. They didn't want to get stuck with an older dog. They knew they were going to get stuck with an older dog. Nobody would adopt this older dog, and he was going to cost a lot of money, and yada, yada, yada. And I did not like that. I didn't like that he was being viewed as just a throwaway dog because of his age, and that maybe he had like a stiff back end. I just didn't like that. So I was, sitting at my computer kind of stewing. Why doesn't somebody do something? When I realized I am someone and that I should do something. So again, the sanctuary is in honor of Woody, who was an older German Shepherd. And German Shepherds are the breed I know best. So that's why older German Shepherds. That is not to say that at any point in time we don't take another older dog. We have one right now. Brutus is a Doberman Shepherd mix. So there you go. And yes, I do know that there are lots of older dogs that need saving. And I hope that more people step forward to give older dogs, older dogs a home, because they are very deserving of a home. And remember, Pam S., you are someone too. So hopefully maybe you can open your home to older dogs if you're not already. All right. Thank you for that. That was a great question. Helen M., how do you do it all? I don't. I do a lot. I do most. But I do have help. Mr. Woody's Place certainly does help out a lot. My kids are adults, and several of them help out when needed. When I ask for it, they certainly do pitch in. Volunteers, we've had a great run with volunteers. COVID kind of hurt us a little bit. Volunteers, sort of stopped volunteering, which I don't blame them with the whole COVID scare. And then we've had some volunteers that we've had for quite some while who've had changes in their lives, whether, a spouse has passed away or they've gotten sick themselves from COVID and haven't really gotten better yet, and things of that nature. So I certainly do have help, but I do a lot myself. And I've talked about this in other podcast episodes as well. So I've made no secret. I'm not ashamed to say it. There was a time that I was, but I'm not afraid to say anymore that I do have ADHD, emphasis on that H part, the hyperactivity. It is a blessing and a curse. And I'm like a locomotive most of the day, just going, even though I'll get physically tired and mentally exhausted. I'm still going because of my my hyperactivity. So that's really how I do a lot because I have this. I'm not a neurotypical. And I wouldn't recommend Life with Old Dogs to someone who does not have excess energy, because it is very, very draining. But at the end of the day, I love what I do, and I just couldn't, picture my life without all of these older German Shepherds, knowing that they're all benefiting from Woody's Place. So how do I do it all? Some days I don't do it all. Some days, oh my gosh, some days like today when it's like dark when I get up in the morning and it's, crappy and rainy and all that stuff. It's like, oh my gosh, I don't want to do anything. I just want to stay in bed with dogs and cats. All right. Let's see here. Okay, this is the last question, the 10th question here. And this is from Carol L. And I did save this one for last intentionally. My question is, how do you know when it's time to let them go? Roxy can still walk a little bit, can still do her business outside, but she can't get up the steps at all, so we have to carry her. I know when she can't walk at all, it's time. But am I being selfish holding on to her, or should I let her go while she still is having some happy times and feeling pretty good? Really hard decision. First of all, Carol, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry to hear that Roxy is having a hard time, and I feel your pain. I really do. I've been there too many times to count, so I totally understand where you're coming from. And I like what you say here about letting her go while she's still having some happy times and feeling pretty good. Um, it's definitely better to say goodbye a day too soon than a day too late, for sure. Been there, done that early on in life with old dogs, and yeah, huge mistake, huge mistake. It's better to prioritize their needs as opposed to ours, our feelings, if you will. But how do you know? So that's a slippery question, because each dog is different. Each situation is different. Now, you're saying here that she can still walk a little bit and she can still do her business outside, but she can't get up and down the stairs, so you have to carry her. Well, I mean, that's not, I don't think that's a death sentence, really. We have had residents who needed extra assistance like that needed to be carried a little bit, or, they couldn't go up and down stairs. There's certainly devices that you can use to help with that, aid them in doing things like that, like as opposed to steps. If it's like a couple of steps, you can use a ramp. That would be a little more doable for Roxy than steps. Or if she can't go up the steps at all, I would just maybe keep her downstairs instead of carrying her up the steps. I don't know if you're carrying her up the steps because she sleeps with you and you want that, that's fine. But when it gets to the point that maybe you can't do that, I mean, I've been in situations where I've just slept right, near the dog, whether like Brandy, sometimes she's having some rough nights here, and I moved her bed right next to my bed, which I'm staying in a spare bedroom right now, in our house, because it's easier for Brandy to get in and out of. So I've kind of modified my life a little bit just to be near her when she's sleeping, because again, she is having a little bit of a tough time. So maybe just keep her downstairs if you have an extra bedroom downstairs. I don't know if you do or not, but maybe keep her downstairs and just sleep downstairs with her if you can and if you want to. So how do I know it's time? All right. Well, I'm going to use Brandy as an example because I am going to say this. I mean, the end is not too far away for her. She is having a tough time right now. She has some good days and she's eating for the most, although that's hard because she's become very picky and I basically have to hand feed her to get some nutrients in her. I have to puree her food really well because I don't know if she has trouble chewing, but that's sort of become a little bit of a challenge for her. She is actually urinating at night right where she lays, which she hasn't done before, but her kidneys are crapping out on her at this point. She pants a lot. She's not really too sure where she is. Sometimes, well, I'm going to say probably about a third of the time, she's not really too sure where she is. She gets confused and turned around. Her back end is starting to give out on her when she is walking. She is not as stable on her feet as she used to be. Like she gets knocked down easily if another dog walks past her and brushes up against her. And I don't mean, collides into her. I just mean gently, like brushes up against her. Brandy will, her back end will fall down to the ground. So right now, I'm going to say about half of the days are good for her and others are not. So I'm not sure if she's going to be with us by Christmas. So my answer to you is when you see that they're stressed, they're panting all the time, maybe they are peeing or pooping right where they lay. They're not eating the way that they used to. They're not able to hold themselves up without really being stressed and fatigued and just worn out. They're all signs that it's time, that it's getting to be time. And eventually you may just have to pick a day and say, this is the day we're going to say goodbye. I can count on one hand. I can't even count on one hand. I've been rescuing German Shepherds since 2005, officially doing Woody's Place since 2011. And only 2 times in all the dogs we have rescued have 2 passed away on their own. 2. That's it. It was Janie and Tucker. I woke up and they were deceased. They passed away all on their own. And although I was sad that they passed away, I was actually relieved that they passed away on their own accord in the comfort of the sanctuary where they felt safe, instead of me having to make that decision, because it is a really hard decision. And you always, what if, I waited another day? Maybe I should have waited another day. Do I have guilt because I did it too soon? Maybe this, maybe that. What if this? What if that? If there's one thing I've learned with sanctuary life, it's and life with old dogs, it's that we cannot fence in time. We cannot buy any more time. And when it's time to say goodbye, it's time to say goodbye. And it is better to say goodbye a day too soon than a day too late, because I have done that too. And I, have that regret that I have to live with. So when you see that they are having more bad days than good days, then it might be time to say goodbye. If you are just not sure, I would recommend speaking to your vet. Hopefully you have a good relationship with your veterinarian who knows your dog well and can help you make that decision. All right. So I hope that answers your question. Okay. Well, that is it for the Q&A session of this podcast episode. And I want to thank you all for the questions. I really do appreciate that. And again, going to be taking a little bit of a break here until we get next season recorded. I think we're looking at the 3rd week of January. Season 6 starts. Don't quote me on that. I think it's either the third week or the last week of January, but don't quote me on that. But I wanted to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, a Happy New Year, all that good stuff. And looking forward to going into the new year with Life with Old Dogs and all of you. So thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next year.